Hello and welcome back to the garden. I'm Mira. Take a deep, slow breath with me. Let your shoulders drop. Imagine stepping out your back door into a sea of vibrant colour. Tall zinnias stretching toward the sun, delicate cosmos swaying in a gentle breeze, and the rich scent of sweet peas wrapping around you. Building a raised bed flower garden from scratch is not just a landscaping project. It is the mindful, deliberate process of building a sanctuary for pollinators, a living canvas for your creativity, and a quiet refuge for your soul whenever the world feels a little too loud. Grab a warm cup of tea and let's sit together for a while. Today, we're embarking on a true masterclass. We are going to demystify the entire process of building a raised bed flower garden, step by step. Whether your yard right now is a blank patch of grass, a bare concrete patio, or a weedy, forgotten corner, you have the power to transform it. We'll talk about how to choose the perfect location, the exact materials to use for longevity and beauty, how to easily construct the beds, and my ultimate recipe for vibrant, living soil. By the end of our time together, you will have the confidence to design and plant a flower garden that will bloom effortlessly from spring until the first winter frost. Close your eyes for just a second. Imagine the feeling of soft, crumbly earth running through your fingers. Think about the quiet hum of bumblebees working their way through a patch of brightly coloured zinnias and the satisfying snip of your pruning shears as you gather a fresh bouquet for your kitchen table. This isn't just about manual labour, it's about reconnecting with the rhythm of the seasons. We are going to slow down today. There is absolutely no rush. Gardening is a practice of patience, and we are going to lay a foundation that will reward your patience 10 times over. Before we lift a hammer or shovel dirt, let's talk about why we are building raised beds in the first place. The first and most liberating reason is ultimate soil control. When you plant directly into the ground, you are at the mercy of your native soil. It might be heavy, compacted clay that drowns delicate flower roots, or sandy soil that drains so quickly your plants are perpetually thirsty. A raised bed, however, is a beautiful blank slate. You get to curate the exact blend of minerals, organic matter, and airy texture that your flowers need to thrive, taking the struggle out of gardening from day one. Beyond soil control, raised beds offer superior drainage and aeration. Flowers, particularly cut flowers like dahlias, despise having wet feet. Sitting in waterlogged soil quickly leads to root rot. Raised beds naturally elevate the root zone above the water table. Gravity does the hard work, pulling excess water down and leaving the perfect balance of moisture and oxygen. Raised beds also warm up significantly faster in the spring. The gentle sun hits the sides, warming the soil mass early, allowing you to plant cool weather flowers like snapdragons and sweet peas weeks earlier than you could in the ground. Finally, gardening should be a joy, never a strain. By raising the soil level by 12, 17, or even 32 inches, you bring the garden up to meet you. This makes planting tiny seeds, weeding, and harvesting a comfortable, soothing experience for your back and knees. It also acts as a brilliant defense line. A properly prepared raised bed naturally suppresses existing native weeds, and by adding a simple physical barrier beneath the bed, we can prevent burrowing pests like gophers from decimating your prized bulbs. Now that we know why we are building them, let's talk about where to put them. The most beautifully built raised bed will struggle if it is placed in the wrong location. Flowers are essentially beautiful solar-powered machines. They turn sunlight into sugars to produce magnificent blooms. Most flowering plants require full sun, which means at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight per day. I encourage you to spend a weekend observing your yard. Where does the sun hit at 9 in the morning? At noon? At 4? Remember that winter and spring sun is lower, casting longer shadows. If possible, orient your raised beds on a north to south axis so plants won't shade each other out. A common heartbreaking mistake is placing a beautiful raised bed at the far end of a property, only to realize the garden hose doesn't reach. Water is the lifeblood of your garden. Ensure your chosen location is easily accessible to a spigot. If you have to haul heavy watering cans across the yard in July, gardening will quickly become a chore. Also, consider wind patterns. Tall, cut flowers like towering zinnias are susceptible to wind damage. Try to position your beds near a gentle windbreak, like a permeable hedge or slatted fence, which diffuses the wind beautifully rather than creating a solid wall. Lastly, your ground must be relatively level. Water always obeys gravity. If your raised bed sits on a slope, all the water will rush to the lower end every time it rains. The plants at the top will be drought-stricken, while those at the bottom will drown. We will discuss exactly how to level the beds during the building phase, but starting with the flattest area possible will save you immense effort. Once you have found that perfect, sunny, accessible and level spot, you can start dreaming about the architecture of your garden. Let's talk about choosing your materials. The materials you choose will dictate the longevity and safety of your garden. Wood is the classic choice, offering a warm, organic aesthetic that ages beautifully. Cedar is the gold standard. It contains natural oils and resins that make it highly resistant to rot, decay, and insect damage. A thick cedar bed can last 10 to 15 years. Douglas fir or pine are fantastic budget-friendly options, though they lack natural rot resistance and may only last 3 to 5 years. If you use pine, you can easily treat the inside with a non-toxic wood preserver like raw linseed oil to extend its life naturally. If you want to step away from wood, galvanized steel and alu-zinc beds have surged in popularity. They last for decades, will not rot, are completely impervious to termites, and have a sleek, modern look that contrasts beautifully with soft flowers. There is a common myth that metal beds will cook the roots of your plants in the summer heat. Please don't worry about this. While the metal itself gets warm, soil is a fantastic insulator. The heat only penetrates the first inch or so, while the vast majority of the root mass remains cool, damp, and perfectly protected in the center. Whichever material you choose, there are golden rules for dimensions. The most important rule is width. Never make a raised bed wider than 4 feet. Why? Because you must be able to reach the center of the bed from the edges without stepping into it. Stepping on your raised bed soil causes compaction, ruining the delicate, airy structure we are working so hard to create. A bed can be as long as you like, though 8 to 10 feet is a very manageable length. As for height, 12 to 18 inches is ideal for deep root systems and wonderful back-saving ergonomics. Let's visualize building a standard 4 by 8 foot wooden raised bed. You'll need 3 8-foot-long, 2 by 12-inch cedar boards. We will cut one of those boards in half to create our 2 4-foot end pieces. You'll also need 4 thick wooden corner posts, cut to the 12-inch height of your bed, and exterior-grade deck screws. Start on a flat surface like a driveway. Always pre-drill your holes. Wood is prone to splitting when a thick screw is driven into it near the edges. Pre-drilling ensures a clean, strong joint that will hold up against wet soil for years. Attach one of your short 4-foot boards to 2 of the corner posts, screwing from the outside of the board into the sturdy post. Make sure the edges are flush. Repeat this with the other 4-foot board to create the 2 solid ends of your bed. Simply stand those end pieces up and attach your long 8-foot boards to the posts, closing the box. To make sure it's perfectly rectangular, measure diagonally from the top left corner to the bottom right, and then top right to bottom left. If those 2 measurements are identical, your bed is perfectly square. With a friend's help, move your frame to your chosen location. Place a spirit level on top of the frame. If one side is sitting too high, resist the urge to build up soil underneath it to make it level. Soil washes away. Instead, use a spade to dig a shallow trench under the high side, sinking the wood into the earth until it reads perfectly level. If you have burrowing pests like gophers in your area, stretch a layer of 1/2-inch galvanized hardware cloth across the bottom of the frame and staple it securely to the wood. It is an impenetrable barrier that will save you so much heartbreak. Next comes a wonderful gardening secret, the cardboard method for weed suppression. You absolutely do not need to dig up the native grass beneath your bed. Instead, we use sheet mulching. Lay down clean, uncoated, unwaxed brown cardboard directly over the grass at the bottom, removing any tape or staples. Overlap the edges by at least 6 inches so aggressive weeds cannot find a seam. This cardboard will smother the grass, killing it completely, and will naturally decompose into the soil within a few months, sending an open invitation to earthworms to come up into your bed. The soil is the living, breathing soul of your garden. If you get the soil right, gardening feels effortless. Because filling a large raised bed purely with bagged potting soil is incredibly expensive, we are going to use a brilliant, layered approach. It's inspired by a centuries-old technique called Hugelkultur, meaning hill culture, combined with a deeply optimized topsoil mix. This saves you money, creates incredible drainage, and feeds your flowers for years. Let's start with the bottom layer. Fill the bottom third, about 30 to 40% of the bed, with organic bulk. Place thick, rotting logs, untreated firewood, and large branches directly on top of the cardboard at the bottom. As this wood breaks down slowly over the years, it acts like a giant natural sponge. It soaks up excess water during heavy rainstorms and slowly, gently, releases it back up to the plant roots during hot, dry droughts. It also creates a rich environment for beneficial fungi. Just avoid toxic woods like black walnut. Fill the gaps between logs with smaller twigs and dried autumn leaves. To prevent your beautiful, expensive topsoil from washing down into the deep crevices of those logs, we need a transition layer for the middle 20% of your bed. Use unfinished compost, aged horse or cow manure, or even inverted chunks of grassy turf. This layer acts as a gentle barrier and provides an incredible burst of long-term nutrition as the organic matter breaks down. Give these bottom 2 layers a very thorough soaking with the hose to wake up the microbes and start the decomposition process before we add the final layer where your flowers will actually live. There is something incredibly grounding about physically building the soil from the bottom up. As you lay down those logs and scatter those autumn leaves, you are quite literally building an ecosystem. You are creating a subterranean world where beneficial fungi will stretch their delicate white mycelial webs, and where deep-dwelling earthworms will tirelessly till the earth for you, completely out of sight. It is a beautiful partnership. We provide the raw materials, and nature transforms them into life. Now, let's talk about the final layer, the crowning glory of your raised bed. Now for the top 50%, the growing medium. This top 6 to 8 inches is where your flower roots will live, breathe, and drink. We want the perfect blend of drainage, nutrition, and water retention. A variation of Mel's mix is ideal. It starts with 1/3 high-quality compost for nutrition. The secret is diversity. Mix mushroom compost, rich worm castings, and plant-based compost together. A diversity in compost brings a beautiful diversity of beneficial, life-giving microbes to your soil ecosystem. The second third of your topsoil mix should be dedicated to aeration. Flowers need oxygen at their roots just as much as they need water. Adding perlite, which is puffed volcanic glass, or natural pumice, ensures the soil remains fluffy, light, and perfectly well draining. The final third is for moisture retention. Cocoa coir, the finely ground husks of coconuts, is a fantastic, sustainable alternative to peat moss. It holds water like a magical sponge, ensuring the soil stays evenly moist without becoming waterlogged. Mix these 3 components thoroughly and top off your bed. Standing over a garden with a watering wand is romantic in the spring, but hand watering becomes exhausting in summer. Plus, overhead watering splashes fungal spores onto delicate leaves, causing powdery mildew. The secret to a thriving, low-maintenance garden is drip irrigation. Start by attaching a battery-operated water timer to your outdoor spigot. Run a solid 1/2-inch polytubing line to your new raised bed. Inside the bed, branch it off into smaller 1/4-inch drip lines with emitters spaced every 6 inches, snaking them back and forth across the soil surface. Drip irrigation delivers water incredibly slowly, dripping it directly into the root zone where the plant actually needs it. It keeps the upper foliage completely dry, preventing disease, and reduces your water usage by up to 50%. Once your irrigation is laid out, there is one final step before planting: mulching. Please, never leave your soil naked. Bare soil is exposed to the harsh sun, which destroys delicate microbial life. Apply a cozy 2-inch layer of organic mulch, like shredded leaves or fine wood chips, across the surface to keep your soil ecosystem safe and cool. Now comes the joyful part: designing the garden. If you want your raised bed to look like a lush, professional landscaping feature, use the classic thriller, filler, spiller design. The thriller is your focal point: tall, dramatic plants like sunflowers, dinnerplate dahlias, or stately foxgloves. Around them, plant your fillers. These are mounding, bushy plants that provide the bulk of the dazzling colour, like zinnias, fluffy cosmos, and cheerful marigolds. Finally, plant spillers along the edges, trailing plants like sweet alyssum or lobelia that cascade softly over the wooden sides. To guarantee continuous blooms, practice succession planting. Don't plant everything at once in the spring, or you'll have a tired garden by August. In autumn, tuck bulbs like tulips deep into the soil. In early spring, sow cool weather lovers like sweet peas. As the heat of summer arrives, replace fading spring flowers with heat lovers like zinnias and amaranth. And for tall cut flowers, attach a simple trellis directly to your wooden frame. Stretching a horizontal layer of horticultural netting across the bed gives weak stems the support they need to grow perfectly straight. With the bed built and the design planned, it's time to plant. Some flowers absolutely hate having their roots disturbed and prefer direct sowing from seed. For sunflowers, zinnias and cosmos, wait until all danger of frost has passed. Draw a shallow furrow in the soft soil, drop the seeds in, cover them lightly, and keep the soil surface constantly moist until you see little green sprouts. For flowers with a long growing season, like snapdragons, you'll transplant seedlings. Remember to harden them off by gradually introducing them to outdoor sun and wind over a week, so they don't go into shock. When transplanting, wait for a cool, cloudy afternoon. Dig a hole slightly wider and deeper than the plant's current pot. Gently squeeze the pot and slide the plant out into your hand. Never pull it by the delicate stem. If the roots are tightly bound, tease them apart gently. Place the plant in the hole at the exact same depth it was in the pot. Backfill with your rich soil and press down gently. Water it in immediately with a heavy, gentle soaking to settle the soil and remove any hidden air pockets. Your beautiful garden is officially growing. Once your little seedlings are nestled into their new home and the gentle shower from your watering can has settled the rich earth around their stems, take a moment to step back. Wipe the dirt from your knees and look at what you've accomplished. Even before the first bud opens, there is a profound sense of peace that washes over you when you look at a freshly planted bed. You have done your part. Now, the sun, the rain, and the soil will do theirs. The hardest work is officially behind you, and the season of tending and enjoying has beautifully begun. Day-to-day maintenance is minimal, but you must feed your flowers. Heavy blooming plants are hungry. Use an organic fertilizer higher in phosphorus to promote massive flower blooms, like bone meal or liquid kelp, every few weeks during the summer. Avoid high nitrogen lawn fertilizers, which will give you green leaves but zero flowers. Alongside feeding, you must practice the magic of deadheading. Snipping off old, fading blooms before they go to seed tricks the plant into aggressively pushing out new blooms. The more deeply you cut your flowers, the more the garden gives. When pests like aphids or Japanese beetles arrive, do not reach for harsh chemical pesticides that kill the bees and butterflies. Practice companion planting. Nasturtiums act as a natural decoy for aphids, keeping them away from your prized dahlias. A sharp blast of water from the hose is often enough to knock aphids off stems. Encourage ladybugs, which are voracious predators of pests. When the seasons turn and the first hard frost kills your annuals, pull out the dead tops, but leave the roots in the soil to decompose. Top-dress the bed with fresh compost and a blanket of shredded leaves to rest. Building a raised bed flower garden from scratch requires a little sweat and intention, but the reward is immeasurable. You are not just building a wooden box. You are cultivating a piece of the earth, creating a safe habitat for vital pollinators, and providing yourself with endless armfuls of fresh flowers to brighten your home. Gardening is a lifelong journey of patience and gentle acceptance. Do not worry if every seed doesn't sprout, or if a storm knocks over a stem. Nature is not perfect, and your garden doesn't have to be perfect either. It just has to be yours. Take your time with this process. Build the soil with care, plant the seeds with hope, and simply stand back to watch the magic unfold. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I would love to hear what you are dreaming of planting in your new raised beds, or what is already blooming in your garden right now. Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this gentle time together, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and join our growing community. I'm Mira, and I'll see you in the garden again very soon. Until next time, take care of yourselves and happy growing.